Mary from SVG Cuts, and I'm here today with some fun new projects that are nice and girly. And obviously we have our really fun new dress form, and I've been thinking about how to make this work for a little while now, and it took me actually a little bit longer than usual because it's such an unusual shape. But the cool thing about it is that it's obviously decorative, or if you want to put some little treats inside, like if you want to, make or purchase like a little bracelet or earrings or something girly, some lip gloss or maybe some chocolates or something is a special little treat for someone. And of course, it's a gift in and of itself because it's so pretty. And I can't wait to see how you guys do yours and make them look totally different. I was thinking it would even be fun to make one as like a wedding shower type of thing, like in white. You can get creative with the skirt, do different kinds of like fabric strips maybe or whatever. So you're creative and you're crafty, and I love seeing what you come up with, so that is going to be super fun. So we also have this really cool big hat box, and I made it as big as possible to maximize a big piece of 12 by 12 paper, and this like gorgeous design is really, really featured. So if you have some paper that you really love and you want to feature that on the top, that's really fun. And the cool thing about this is that it's nice and sturdy too. Like the lid is nice and thick, and then the sides are also reinforced with liner pieces that go on the inside. And the bottom is a couple layers thick, so it's nice and sturdy even though it's made out of pretty scrapbook paper. So that is really fun to get creative with. You can use really any kind of paper that you have in mind to give it whatever kind of look you have in mind, and it's really big enough for a pretty sizable gift, which is really cool. And this little handle on here it's just decorative because I was looking at pictures of vintage hat boxes, and isn't it fun to think about back in the day when women used to have fun wearing like really big, bold, pretty hats made out of really pretty fabric with pretty bling and feathers or whatever on there. So that's really fun to kind of do a throwback to those days and get excited about a pretty hat box. So we also have our lipstick container, which opens up. You can put some little whatever you have in mind in there as well. And I think it'd be fun to make it in, pink or whatever different colors of lipstick you have in mind. You can make it kind of like more juvenile and girly for like a little girl, like princess theme birthday or something like that, or more elegant like I've done here with this pretty paper. So we also have two really pretty cards, and this one, I just love all the chalkboard art that I see, so I kind of wanted to give it that look. But of course, if you didn't do the black and white, it would look cool too in different colors. And I stitched around with embroidery floss because there's little holes evenly spaced around for your stitching, or if you want to leave the holes out, you can do that too. And the other cool thing about this is that it's really only two pieces. You don't have to sit and glue every letter together on there in the right place. It's really just the chalkboard, the black, and then behind it is the rest of it. So if you look at those pieces, you'll see how simple it is to just stick them together, and it's super cute. So finally we have this really pretty little vintage design card, and the cute little tomato pincushion also has stitching on there, which is optional. I think it adds a really nice little touch, but if you don't feel like doing that, you don't have to also. So the cool thing about this too is you could use these card bases and put something completely different on the front of it, so you can get creative there, and you have your envelope that fits perfectly as usual too. So the paper that I used this time is so pretty. It kind of reminds me of a certain favorite masterpiece PBS drama from the 1920s that I love very much. I watch all the time, over and over. And it comes with some really pretty stickers and chipboard pieces with vintage imagery on there. This is by Graphic 45, and it's called the Couture Collection. And as always with Graphic 45 paper, it's just beautiful and gorgeous and inspiring, and I think no matter what you do with it, it's going to look really cool because it's just so pretty. So like I always say, whatever kind of paper you have in mind that you want to use is going to look awesome. So I've got all my pieces cut out to show you how these three-dimensional items go together, so let's get started. So I'm going to start off with the dress form, and I've got the main pieces of the body of the dress form laid out here. And like I was showing you, the top and the bottom are separate. So your machine will have cut a little number into each piece, which I went ahead and darkened in with a marker so that you could see it in this video. You can do that too if you want to, but you don't have to. And then you can tell the difference between the top and the bottom pieces because the bottom pieces each have a little circle cut out of them too. So I think it's nice if you start by laying everything out so that you can see it all and make sure you have every piece and it's all in order. And then on these bottom pieces, the top piece here gets folded towards you like this, as well as the neck pieces up here. We want the not the very top fold, but the next two, if there are two, you want those folded towards you as well. So they don't all have a score line here, but if there is one, you want to fold it towards yourself on those top two pieces. So I went ahead and grabbed piece number 1 here of the body, and it doesn't really matter what order you start in or which piece you grab first, but kind of makes sense to grab number 1 first. And also these bottom pieces of the body also you want to fold towards you. And then as you can see, I went ahead and put glue on each of the tabs going up the side of piece number 1. And now I'm just working my way up slowly, going one at a time, lining each one up nicely with the edge of the next piece and giving each tab a little bit of a chance to dry before I move on. And before you know it, you've got all of them glued into place. So I'll just go ahead and do one more here. And then you just want to keep doing the same thing all the way around with all 8 pieces. And then we will just repeat the same thing with the bottom. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Nice little straight lines, nice and easy. So again, I'm just going slowly one at a time, giving it a little chance to dry, and then moving on to the next one above it. And you just want to do your best to line it up as perfectly as possible. And just take your time and have fun. Maybe put some, I like to work with a movie on or some nice music. Something that kind of coordinates with my project. So there is pieces 1 through 3 glued together, so you just want to work your way around with all 8 pieces. And then the rest of the pieces kind of fall into place all together at once. So I've got my hand inside here and I'm just kind of adjusting these tabs and squeezing them together from the inside and from the outside. So mine has kind of crazy glue all over, not as nice as the first one that I made, but you get the idea of how it goes together. So before we glue this neck piece into place, I think now is a good time to go ahead and put your decorative panels in place on your top of your dress form. And you just want to take each panel and put glue all over the back side of it and then carefully smooth it onto each segment. So one goes here, one goes here, it goes all the way around except for on the back, this panel is a little bit smaller so that it has a border around it. Then you just keep working your way, smoothing it on with glue all over the whole thing, back around, and then again on the front, this one's a little bit smaller too. And it is not glued right here on top of the chest, it's just glued up here and then down here so that it creates a nice curve. And then once you've got your decorative panels in place on the top, you can go ahead and put glue on each of these little tabs and then fold this top over into place.
Say that again, I bumped the camera, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's
Go ahead.
And then once you've got all your decorative panels glued into place, you can just put glue on each of these little panel or tabs up here on top and fold this over into place. So next for our bottom of our body, it's the same exact principle and we've just got 8 pieces once again, and you just want to glue those together 1 through 8. So once again, I'm just going to start with piece number 1. Not that it really matters which one you start with, but one makes sense. And again, we're just putting glue on all 4 of those tabs, grabbing the next one, and just carefully lining them up one at a time, giving it a chance to dry. And the better that you line it up as you go, the better it's all going to fit together in the end. As you get to finishing it off, it's just going to finish up even nicer if it's lined up really nicely. So I've got all 8 pieces together here, and I went ahead and put glue on all the tabs to close it up. And I'm just going, again, just one at a time, closing it up nicely. So at this point, if you want to go ahead and put your decorative panels on the bottom as well, it's a good idea now. I think it's easier when the bottom is open so you can really reach in there and do what you need to do. So again, you just want to smooth each of these onto it, and the back side and the front are a little bit smaller so there's a border around them. And you can tell which one is the back side because it's a little more voluptuous back there and round, so that is the bottom. So at this point, the next thing that we want to do is take this piece, which looks like this, and we actually need to manually score this, because normally I do these like sort of like dashed lines for scoring, but there would be so many on this piece that it would look kind of jaggedy after you fold it. So there are some little guidelines, and it's probably pretty hard to see, but there's a little line up here and then also down here to help you line up where you need to score it. So I already went ahead before this video and I scored most of it. So what you want to do is just score each of these so that they're nice and even. So you just want to just be careful and take your time and just use those little guidelines to line up your lines and go ahead and score each of those. So this scoring tool that I've got here is a Martha Stewart scoring board, which I recently got at Joann Fabrics, and I like it. It's nice. It doesn't have like I used to have a smaller one from Provocraft that was like a slider thing, which worked, but I like this. I feel like I have maybe more control over exactly what I'm doing. So once each of those is scored, we want to go ahead and fold each one. And then once we've got them all folded, we can, as you can see, there's a tab along the side here. So we want to put a nice little line of glue. And since my paper is black, I want to be extra meticulous because any glue that comes out really shows on the black paper. So you just want to line this up and glue that into a little pole. And once the glue starts to take hold, or once you've kind of got it lined up nicely, you can even fold it in half and give it a good squeeze. So now we can take our bottom of our dress form, and you've already got your decorative panels on at this point. And I accidentally jumped the gun and tried to glue the bottom on, which is why it's a little torn up. So we don't want to glue the bottom on just yet. First, we want to put this piece through, and then, as you could probably guess, each of these is going to get folded over and glued down. So we just want to get a nice little line of glue on each of these tabs. And then we will also cover this up in just a moment so that you can't see it from the other side like this when you open your box. So we want to get each of those to kind of take hold a little bit, and then maybe grab some scrap paper so you don't mess up your table, and then just put that flat down so you can push from the other side so that it's nice and flat. So the next thing you want to do is put some glue on all of these tabs. And again, mine are a little rough because I went out of order by accident. And you can just fold that into place and line it up as nicely as possible. And maybe set it on the edge of your table and push down from the inside and rotate it around so that you can get a nice flat surface to push down on. So now at this point you can take your little decorative panel that cut out with your decorative panels for your dress form, but it's actually a liner that goes on you can take a look and see that this top is a little bit wider than the bottom, so this is how it goes in. And just carefully pop that into place. Mine's a little off-centered, but that's not the end of the world. So next, for the base of our project here, there are 8 pieces that look like this, and they are all identical. They don't need to go in a certain order or anything. And once again, we're going to use our technique here where you put glue on all the side tabs. And just one thing to note is that this one gets folded the opposite way on each of them. And then you just want to carefully line them up real nicely. And the more meticulous you can be, the better. Everything will line up perfectly when you get to closing it up. It's just nicer the more careful you can be. And just work your way up, gluing each of those into place. And then repeat this with all 8 pieces until you've got your base put together. So I'm closing up my shape here, and it's a little tricky to get the glue in there, but I think as long as you get just a couple of dots along the edge on those tabs, and even just one dot on this top one, I think that's okay. And whatever is easier for you is okay. I'm starting with this middle one here because it kind of helps the whole thing stay in position properly. And then we just want to close each of those up nicely. And then the next thing we want to do is take a look at our decorative panels for this base here. So as you can see on my finished base, it has some pretty little panels going around, and each of those looks like this. There are 8 of them. And if you've got like a pen or pencil or a dowel or just like this, if you want to give it a little bit of a curve, that's kind of nice. It helps it go in the right direction. And then you just want to put a dot of glue at the top and a little line of glue along the bottom. And then just place that right up against the top there and hold it as it dries. And you might have to hold each of these for a few seconds longer than usual because they are curved and they kind of want to pop out of place. So the next thing we can do is take before we put the bottom in place, I'm going to set this down on my table here and take my bottom of my project. And I don't even need to glue it, and it's a nice snug fit. It's extremely tight of a fit actually, but that is on purpose so that it just slides right in and it holds together that way. So if you need to kind of fold it in a little bit just to get it started, you can always pop it back into shape after it's in place. So I've got that in place, and now I can take like a pen or a pencil or something and just pop that back into place. So I've got my bottom into place, and the only thing left to do is just put glue on all of these tabs here and take your 8-sided shape and just pop that into place. And all the sides are equal, so it doesn't matter which way you put it on. So to talk about how I put this skirt on here, I just taped strips of tulle onto it, and then I covered it up with some glitter tape as like a little belt. And the tape that I used is just some double-sided tape. This one's scrappy tape, but there's all different kinds of double-sided craft tape. And then I cut strips that were all the same length of this tulle on a roll, which is by American Crafts, but you could also just get tulle at the you know, fabric store or the craft store. So I cut them into like inch wide strips, and I just used double-sided tape to affix them to the waist. And then, like I said, I just covered it up with this. Or if you wanted to cover it up with a ribbon, I'm sure you could affix that on there as well. So finally, let's just take a look at this pretty little 3D flower. So the 3D flower is made up of 5 petals, which have a slit in the bottom, and then 1 circle, and then this long piece like this. So for each petal, I took a little tool here. If you've got like a stylus or anything that's this shape, kind of helps to curve the edge a little bit at the top. And then I just put a tiny little dot of glue on one side, and then open that slit up and bend it around so that you can glue one side to the other. So I went ahead and did that to all 5 of my petals. And then for this little thing, which goes in the middle, I took some really thin double-sided tape and placed that along the bottom. And then basically all we're going to do is roll it up, and the tape is there obviously so that it sticks to itself. I don't think it really matters which end you start with or how perfect it is. And as you can see, I am just rolling it up, and then we'll just set that aside. And then basically all you want to do is just glue each little petal to this circle. Just kind of evenly space them out. So I think it's kind of helpful to have something to poke at it with, since it is so tiny. And you just want to glue those around the edge of the circle. And then once you've got them all glued on, and this definitely doesn't need to be totally perfect, as long as you can just get them all on there going around. That is awesome. And I'm putting the glue where the 2 sides of that slitted part of the bottom are overlapping. And then we just want to put a nice little coating of glue on the bottom of this center thing here and pop that into the center. And we can kind of spread out those little center pieces a little bit and give it a chance to dry. And there's our cute little flower. So next for our lipstick box, I've got my pieces all laid out here, and this is the lipstick, and your machine will have cut a number in each piece, but I went ahead and darkened those in with a marker so that you could see them easily in my video. And then we've got the rest of the lipstick over here, but let's just take a look at these pieces. And it's pretty straightforward. All we want to do is put some glue on the 2 side tabs of piece number 1 here. Not that it matters which one you start with, but as long as you line it up as perfectly as possible and go 1 tab at a time here, giving each one a chance to dry, you're going to be all set, and you can just work your way around with all 8 pieces. So I'm just gluing my final piece into place here, and then I will close it up. And it's just the same principle all the way around with all 8 pieces. So nice and simple, easy shape to work with. And you just want to line it up as nicely as possible. So now we can put glue on all of these tabs up here, making sure that you get a little bit of glue on those corners. And then just fold this piece into place, and again line it up as nicely as possible. So next we want to make the tube part of our lipstick box, which is this cylinder shape up here. And that is made up of this main piece and then these 3 circles. So what we want to do is take a look, and you don't want to fold this here, but you can see that there are 2 little score lines, or 2 little lines, and those are just there as guidelines to help you see where to put your glue and also where to line it up when you bend it around. So you want to get that as perfectly lined up as possible and give it a chance to dry. And since it's a round shape, it wants to pop out of place, so maybe just give it a few extra seconds of drying time there. And then you can go ahead and bend over all these teeth on one side. This side of teeth is the same as the other side of teeth, so it doesn't matter which one you start with. And then you just want to put that face down on your work surface and grab either of these 2 donut shapes, they're the same, and put a nice ring of glue right on the edge of your donut shape piece, and then put that face down inside your cylinder. And you probably want to do this on top of a piece of scratch paper or scrap paper, because there's a little bit of glue getting all over the place. And as you can see, it's glued on the inside nicely, and it's holding the shape nicely too. So next we can glue this top into place by again putting a nice line of glue pretty close to the edge and placing that circle right on top. And again, we can flip it over without getting glue all over it and push down from the inside a little bit. So the next thing we want to do is bend all these other teeth over. And actually at this point, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and put this decorative piece on. And you can line up the edges with the other edge of, the seams over here on the back side. So go ahead and put your decorative piece on. I used a nice pretty patterned piece when I did my original one. And then we can put glue on this other donut piece, going around the edge. And then we want to get that, basically you want to get it inside and then kind of get those teeth down. And that's basically just kind of helping to hold the shape so it's a nicely shaped cylinder. So as you can see, the reason that this hole is here is so that I can reach through and glue all of those down. So if there are any that are not glued down and you want to add some extra glue, you can go around and kind of do that. But it doesn't have to be perfect because it's just going to get glued smack on top of a box, which is the top of the lid. So this is nice and simple. It's kind of a good idea if you want to use some prettier paper than this plain paper that I've used. But it's nice and simple, it's just one piece. And what you want to do is just glue all 4 corners together like this. And then once you've got all 4 corners glued into place, then we will just fold these tabs under and glue those. But first you want to glue all 4 corners into place. And it's nice and straightforward and simple. And now that those are all in place, we can go ahead and fold over these bottom pieces with glue on them on the inside. So go ahead and glue all 4 of these under. Makes it nice and strong. And now let's take our bottom of our lipstick and It's also nice and simple. We just want to glue these 4 corners together. And you just want to do the same thing that I just did with all 4 corners until you've got a cute little box. And then to finish off your lid, we just want to cover this in glue and place that right on top of the lid, and then cover this group of tabs with glue and carefully center that. And you just want to maybe take a look at where your seam is, maybe put that in the back and arrange it however you want as you glue it together. So finally, for our hat box, I've got the pieces for the bottom of the box laid out here. And I'm not going to put together the lid because the lid goes together the same exact way. It's just shorter and a little bit simpler because the lid doesn't have the holes for the decorative handle. So this is the bottom, and there are 4 pieces that make up the sides, and they are all numbered. So your machine will have cut a number, and I used a marker to make it more visible. So there's 4 of those pieces, and as you can see, piece number 2 and piece number 4 have a little hole in them. And then we've got the bottom of the box, and then the liner. So we just also have finally these reinforcing liner pieces, which we'll do at the end. So you want to set the bottom circle to the side and just use your liner first. But first, what we're going to do is glue together these side pieces. But before I start to put glue on them, it's helpful if you can curve them into the shape that they're going to be going in first. So I just happen to have a dowel handy, which is what I used. If you've got, you know, a pencil or a pen or really whatever, a big marker, you just want to curve your pieces just gently. That way when you start gluing them together and the glue starts drying, it's going in a nice curved shape. Otherwise it just might not. It kind of has a tendency to look nicer and work better when you curve it ahead of time. So now, as you can see, you can barely see there are 1, 2, 3 little lines, and those are just guidelines to help you see where the tab is. So when you put your glue on, you can see where the tab ends there. So you just want to put glue all over. This is piece number 1, so next I want to grab piece number 2. And you just want to use those tiny little lines to help you line it up. And it helps if you can kind of squeeze it together up in the air, because I find we can lay it flat just briefly, but we want to keep that curved shape, because if you flatten it out too much, it's not going to keep a nice curve. So we just want to do the same thing for all 4 pieces, going in order. So since I've got piece number 2, I will grab piece number 3, and again, line it up as best you can, because the better you can line it up, well, just the better. Everything's going to fit together really nicely. The bottom will fit together even better, and you will be happy with it. So again, just gluing this piece to the next one, and I've got piece number 4 going onto piece number 3, and I was not super meticulous with my glue, so I've got some glue showing, but you can be more careful with yours and take your time more. And now finally we just want to close it up, again just by putting glue on this tab and using those little lines to line it up nicely. And my glue is just completely out of control, but you get the idea of how it works. So the next thing you want to do is bend over each of these tabs just going all the way around your project here. And then the next thing we'll do is you want to have a big piece of scrap paper handy, like a big 12 by 12 piece, because we're going to get some glue all over the place. And then you want to take your liner, not the bottom, but the liner, the bottom liner, and you want to put a nice line of glue all the way around the edge. And this is going to go face down into the bottom of our box. So I'm going to take my box here, and those tabs are all on the bottom, and I've got my glue on this side, which is going to go face down into my box. And I just want to carefully put that down in there. And it's nice because it fits just absolutely perfectly, so it helps the whole thing have a nice round shape, and it fits nicely. So as you can see, those tabs are all glued down, and then you just want to cover the bottom of this with a nice even layer of glue going all the way out to the edge, but not too far so that you don't want your glue, you know, sticking out. So glue the bottom into place then, and then we can take our liner pieces, and again you want to give these a bit of a curve before you glue them in, because then they'll just work better. And as you can see, there's a larger hole, and you just want to line that up with the hole that is inside your box. And you do want, before you glue it into place, just flip it over once or twice and make sure that it's lining up nicely, because there is a top and a bottom. So you just want to cover that with glue, place that inside, and then do that with the other 4 pieces. So there you have it, super fun girly projects. I hope you love them. I hope you have fun making them. I'm sure you will. And if you do, you'll have to share a picture with us on Facebook or on your blog, pin it on Pinterest, put it on Instagram, and hashtag SVG cuts, or really wherever. We love seeing your projects, and so do the rest of our crafty friends. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time, and happy crafting.
Learn more by visiting www.svgcuts.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, and watch all of our crafty videos on YouTube. It's a world of crafty content, with you in the middle. SVGcuts.com, inspiring you to live creatively and beautifully.